We are wearing the ASU shirt today, and I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Nathan. Online, I go by Duck, and welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We are talking about today. Today, the theme, the topic of today's stream is game theory is better than God. If you guys are tuning in for a second, third, fourth time, you guys already know this is a sort of political science, sort of politics, sort of philosophy, sort of a lot of things type deal here, right? So we try to ooh our way to a better planet. Yes, we are proud of education. No, we are not snobs about college degrees. What else? What else? Yeah, it's good to be smart. It's good to have an erudite, educated opinion. It's okay to troll too, right? Yeah, so people, your first time here, we'll work on that today. We will work on all of the game theory stuff. And yeah, so shout out and for Muslims, for Christians, for Jews, for Hindus, Buddhists, anyone tuning in. I'll say this right away, right? We might debate, we might have fun, but yeah, I'll say God bless, right? That's how I'll open up. I'll open up the stream. God bless. Mea culpa, my children. But game theory is better than God. So we're going to be talking. Hopefully, Christian nationalism comes up. Guys, nothing's going to change the fact I'm in the United States. You may not be in the United States, but I am in the United States. And so, yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing when we say that we can use economic thinking to understand the political environment. Maybe your political beliefs, they probably do not. Your political beliefs probably don't come from a grid. They probably don't come from a graph. They're not things that Elon Musk or Sam Altman would be thinking about, but they are things that economists would be thinking about. They are things that lend themselves to economic thinking. And so that's what we'll talk about on today's stream. Let's see. I'm going to set up the message controller. How do I do this? I say, I got to say game die. I got to say video game. And then I say God is worse than game theory. Disagree? Challenging your Mick belief. And we'll say, and then I also self-advertise. So this is what I say today. And yeah. So here's our pinned message. Very simple. I don't say too much. I say just enough, folks. So there's the pinned message for the day. God is worse than game theory, or game theory is better than God, however you want to put that. And if you disagree, come challenge your Mick belief here in chat. Awesome. I keep finding you. Hey, what's up, Fama Buffoon? Great to see you. Great to see you. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to the algorithm, right? Algorithms are almost like an economic game in some sense. So the way that game theory works can also be related back to algorithms. If YouTube has a choice of 1,000 videos to send you to, or 10,000 videos to send you to, there is one that is going to produce more value for their advertisers and also create a more enjoyable experience for you. YouTube may look at your time in app or something like this. Do I hate God? I don't know what God is. So if you put that statement in reverse and you just say hate God, what does that mean? Is hate God is an independent clause. It itself can mean something. I don't know where, who, what God is. If tell me maybe which museum I go to. Tell me which scientific or academic institution I'd go to discover this God that you're talking about. And so if you can define for me hating God in any sense, in any world, or even maybe get me closer to what you mean by that, I can answer the question, do I hate God? Do I eat pork? I'm a vegan, Steven. Hey, Steven, I'm a vegan, Steven. Come on, brother. Come on, brother. What you know about that? What's game theory? Yeah, game theory is economic thinking. It's where you can turn results into mathematical outcomes. So if you guys are showing up here from the algorithm, even if you're showing up here because you're subscribed and you saw I showed up in your feed, right? YouTube might say, well, hey, this stream to you is worth a 1. You guys are some of the first people here. We've been live less than 5 minutes. So you guys are a 1. And yeah, other content out there, right? Your favorite, whether it's your favorite OF creator, It's, you're watching gaming streams, whatever it is, guys. I don't know. You're on the Gooning story arc. A game theory would say, well, if Duck is a 1, these other streams you're not on right now are maybe like a 0.7. And so when you think of the factors, you can sort of imagine the factors, the types of ways things might be measured in the first place. Your FDA food labels for the internet. Game theory is sort of like that. So game theory can help us cooperate or compete. If I see you're going to be a loser in a situation, I wouldn't do it. Meat is a good thing to eat. Don't eat your own meat. Like data science. Yeah. Data science is full of techniques, collection methodologies, and ways to understand data. So data science is I'm not a data scientist, but if you're talking about how to prepare data, how to produce a data set based on a hypothesis you want to test, data science is a great place to go. I did some political science, but I was more of a philosophy theory type kind of guy. So I'm not really a great expert. Someone says I show gay, I show speed, right? That's also game theory. When someone says I show gay, that's also a form of game theory, right? There's a lot of value because you guys know I show speed. I show speed's one of your favorite creators, or you're like, these big creators, they don't care about me, right? They don't care about the enjoyability. They can't read my comments. They can't respond to me like this Duck guy wearing an ASU shirt, University of Arizona shirt. And so I show gay is still a form of game theory. It's a little otherizing too, right? Maybe you're banking on the fact that the majority of people here will understand if I explain game theory, because more people understand the reference of I show gay. But it doesn't have to be everyone, right? It doesn't have to be everyone. And so there is game theory probably when we otherize, when we create exclusive spaces, when we don't focus on anti-racism and inclusion. Those are probably also game theoretic. Those could also be game theoretic, guys. Why would I eat only green plants? It makes your belly feel good, I guess. I don't know. I don't think about it or talk about it that much, right? That's one of the big things I learned going vegan is if I don't have to spend hours discussing, talking about, thinking about the food I eat. It is it's a huge W, right? It's a huge W. So pick your poison, I guess, is one way of thinking about it for people that want to pin it down. But yeah, I'd rather just have my diet and do that. Can you guys not do anti-trans stuff? I'm gonna give you a 10-second timeout to delete all your messages. But yeah, can you guys, there's no reason for that, guys. We can have a conversation, right? We're talking about game theory. God is worse than game theory. Refresh the stream. You guys can see God is worse than game theory. So go ahead and update that. What's your favorite God or God pantheon? I don't know. Who's the God of war? Vishnu? Isn't Vishnu the destroyer? Vishnu or Shiva, one of them's the destroyer god or something like this. Hey, thanks, Imbervoid TV. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys want to hype this stream, you guys can send. I know it's bright and early, but if you guys want to help kick off my week, it's really useful to me. Super chats, sending YouTube gifts, support your favorite creators, and hype the stream. Appreciate likes. Appreciate if you guys like this stuff. Subscription. Okay, ZK says so. Game theory stuff is fascinating. But why take a jab at religion? Why not just have a game theory stream? Is it clickbait? I don't think it is clickbait. A lot of people, and I can respond to this very directly. When we're asking about what the world is like, when we're asking about what two different alternatives produce, when we're asking about the end of where a decision is actually reached and where it takes us. Game theory is one way of doing that. It uses economic units. It uses economic units like math, and says that some solutions are just larger or smaller than others, right? So saying something is larger or smaller, such as the amount of energy wasted in the United States, or like saying the amount of time you have to spend online before you can go find a great job or something like this. This is economic thinking, right? So it's a more clear way to think about what you want when you're thinking about what you want in your political beliefs. And so this is diametrically opposed. There's an opportunity cost to saying, well, God's going to cure this, right? In the United States, the Protestant ethic, Calvinism, these huge, longstanding old ideas from the 19th century tell you that you should not think like this, right? You should think in terms of your own psychology. You should think in terms of your faith. And so this isn't that controversial. I think when you say I'm taking a jab at religion, I'm just taking a jab at the idea that God, your own personal psychology belongs in politics. If I know you and I are different people, why would I think like that? I wouldn't. I wouldn't think like that if I know you and I are different people. Theology is a lot of fun, guys. Yeah, if you want to bring up a theology topic to talk over the game theory topic, go for it, right? Have fun. Have fun. But also, please never ask for help. Never ask your government for help. Never ask your fellow citizens who are not you for help. Because guess what? Theology isn't a way that work actually gets done. Do you know how work gets done? You pick up a shovel. Guys, folks, ladies, anyone who knows the blue collar mindset knows that if work needs to get done, you can pick up a pickaxe, pick up a shovel, right? This ain't communism. This isn't a command economy. Guys, theology is not the way work gets done. So theology is so fascinating. Guys, when I get done with my own streams, if you guys have an open panel on theology or philosophy, I will join. I'd love to learn about your beliefs. Love to just have a conversation. I don't even need to challenge you. But theology does not belong in politics. Your version of what a sky daddy is like in the social political context, there is no sky daddy up there, right? Sky daddy is down here. It's when you do this. You guys do this before a meal or something like that. That's awesome, right? That's not a sky daddy. But when you guys go up and say, well, why are the lights on in the library? Or why do traffic lights work? Do you know what that is? That then is social political. And yep, there's Sky Daddy. There's your Sky Daddy once again, guys. Earth is not disgusting. Yeah, even the Bible says that we should be a steward for the earth, and people take that to mean that we put little animals and helpless in cages. We use giant boats to dig up the coral reef. We waste resources for future generations, and we create war with it. Yeah, somebody says I'm going to hell. That's not the topic of today's conversation. Hey, Fom, yeah, let's have the conversation. Great to see you. Shout out, happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's having a decent morning. Hey, what's up, Dankwan Kenobi? Hey, I'm so sorry, dude. It's Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Drinko. It is no longer May the 4th. So all the Kenobi Star Wars names you guys see having a rough day, right? They had their one day out of the year. You're an intellectual. All sub, like, and share. Cool, thank you. Yeah, if you guys want to share the stream out, feel free. I wouldn't describe myself as all that intellectual, but I don't think it's intellectual to read and have read books. I don't think it's intellectual to think and am able to think in terms that are not just things you learn at church. Things you learn at church, right? If church is the next best substitute to learn how to be pro-social, that's amazing. But you guys are watching me on a smartphone. The world won't stop if you guys go to Wikipedia. You guys want to go to Wikipedia instead of watching your buddy duck? I support that choice, right? Drop out of the stream, hit the like button, share, go Google Wikipedia, go Google game theory or something, right? YouTube's telling me I got 0 people here. So apparently I'm doing something just exactly the right way, form of wrong. Honestly thought bro was a Bible freak. Cool. Nope, God is worse than game theory. That ain't a joke, buddy. I'm hoping, let's see. Calling God a make-believe is a bold take. No, it's not. Game theory explains strategy. No, it doesn't. But it doesn't give people purpose or a reason to sacrifice for others. That's your own subjective stuff right there. What fills that for you? None of that, Ember. So calling God a make-believe is a bold take. No, it's not. If God is literally the convenience choice, if we define civil society as churches being sort of the cornerstone of this, that is a make-believe. That is a make-historical take. That is a make-wokeism take from the religious right most often, right? Civil society is also internet freedom. Civil society is also thinking in global terms, not thinking in national terms. So God is a make-believe, right? When all you can afford as a society is to slaughter, like literally, the new form of churches, your church picnic is like a lord slaughtering a pig for the plebeians and the serfs. That's crazy to me, right? So God is a make-believe. And guys, thanks for joining in. I'm responding to Ember Void's comment up above. If you guys want, hype the stream, like, sub, I'll come down, say what's up. enjoy the stream. Feel free to listen, ask a question, whatever you guys want. I do not. I love it. I love it, actually. It's not that I don't care. I love it. But yeah, so saying that, well, you have a church picnic and this is how you learn right from wrong is just like you used to teach plebeians and serfs tied to the land that you can slaughter a pig and give people pig meat when things get too hard, right? Do not protest. Eat a bite of this delicious food and remember why we're all here, why we're all subservient. And so you're just subservient to a different God who's distributed across society. Secondly, game theory explains strategy. No, it doesn't, right? Strategy is explained by possibility in game theory. So this is important. If you are looking at all in game theory because you are calculating an equation, it's economic thinking, right? It's just economic thinking. It's not meant to supplant beliefs. It's a tool. But because game theory explains all of the possible actions a person can take, game theory does not explain the strategy. It just tells you, it gives you one single number. Like in the sense, I'll give you this, in the sense that you can see a optimal outcome or something like this. Maybe then it explains a strategy. But no, in real life, game theory is not meant to explain strategy, explain actors' behaviors. It just tells you what you can possibly do and models what you get back out of it. But it doesn't give people a purpose or a reason to sacrifice for others. You know, you having that sort of gearing, Ember, I would say you having a purpose or a reason to sacrifice for others is amazing, but how do you even know if your purpose or reason for sacrificing for others includes making $100,000 a year or more? It includes becoming a 10 millionaire by the end of your lifetime or a 100 millionaire by the end of your lifetime. But then you're also doing this other thing. Well, someone could say, well, there's many different games that you're actually playing. God will never say that to you. God will never say that your life's choices have economic interpretations. God will only tell you, go back and read your Bible. And so your purpose, reason, and sacrifice, you ought want it informed, right? You ought want it informed. So there is a normative. If you're going to challenge me that this is not normative, I would say you ought to replace God with game theory. God is worse than game theory, and so you ought to replace God with game theory because you'll have an economic void. So what fills that for me is, yes, indeed, I feel filled now deeply. I would fill my life with these little tiny grids, these little graphs that tell me what the world is like now and how it transforms, what it becomes like, what produces these results, and then what that might be like in the world, what that could be like in the world. So you guys aren't going to remove my man card. You guys know I'm huge on sculinity. I'm a big sculinity red pill type guy. So yeah, good Christian man in chat. You guys are gonna never pull my whatever. Honestly thought bro was a Bible freak. Cool. Scrolling down. Hey, we got JR. Good to see you, Jay. Happy Tuesday to you. Game theory dictates that God is hostile for an actor. Yeah, William. William coming in with the only chat W so far, guys. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I love that you guys are asking me questions, giving me stuff to respond to, play off of. That's amazing for me. And William coming in with the hugest W. Game theory dictates that God is a hostile foreign actor. Civil society becomes the threat. Yeah. How would you apply, say, theoretically, we prove infinitely intelligently creator? How would meaning actually change our economic interpretation? The most common answer to ZK, who's saying, how would this apply to a theoretically, we discover that God is real, there has to be a creator, and this is an infinitely intelligent creator. They're a being. So we would say there's an ontology or a beingness. They're like us. They're like a giant rat, right? They're like a giant Harvard comp sci. They're like every PhD in the world put together in one person and then some. And so I would say from a game theory perspective, you might start looking at teleos, right? You might start looking at purpose. This doesn't really apply, but if you say that, yeah, we're going to either a doomsday scenario because of this creator promised they're going to kill us all in the end, or you're going towards like, well, you have to live in a world that values conservation, that values stewardship, and that does not place one human's life over another. You would say, well, there is a teleos or purpose, perhaps another infinite game that God's created called choice or free will. But the games you would look at might be limited or bounded by this. So someone should do things perhaps prior to answering this question, like saying, well, why are Christians no different or deserving of the same dignity as a Muslim or an atheist or the poor, someone who doesn't have a voice in that conversation? So, yeah. And, so this stuff lives in the Bible. It's also split out between God talking to men's balls. In the Bible, God talks to men's balls. He blesses your balls in the book of Genesis. So you guys can say that there's a game theory where Jesus heals the sick, but it's also a game theory where God just wants to talk to your testicles all day. And so that's different. Cool. Steve Buffoon, thanks. Great beard. Thank you. Appreciate it. What are you talking about? Blood, Liam Bean, stick around, read the sort of pinned message. We're talking about economic thinking and game theory being better than religion, right? So one new, one old. Religion's a way to create supernatural, made up descriptions, but you can actually provide economic value. It's better to have $100 than $50 to some people. It's better to have one tank than zero tanks. It's better to have one power plant than zero power plants. And so if you're actually looking to create a more just world, why not turn that into equality, cooperation, right? It's better we all have 5 power plants instead of 5 tanks, right? That's a better solution. It's better that we have 5 passenger jets that help people go visit their family in other countries than having 5 warplanes. Presumably, this is acceptable thinking. It's a great starting point. And so we're talking about why God sucks. Game theory is better in social, society, and politics. Game theory. Yeah. Huge chat W. Yeah, chat W. There you guys go. Naturally, game theory will dictate that if we submit ourselves to them, but not because they deserve our loyalty or worship, but because of an intrinsic thing, but because they're more powerful than us. Yeah, you can have cooperation in behavior, and then you can also supervene, right? You can also look at the outcomes you get and say, well, 5 passenger planes is better than 5 warplanes. For those that know, both can be exploitative, whatever, but both are, they're both planes, right? So you can say there's a more cooperative solution. Then you can also say there's cooperative strategies. There's a way people talk to each other to get the 5 passenger jets versus there's a way that people talk to each other to get the 5 warplanes. And so this can live in game theory. You guys see this faster than I do. And yeah, I can tell this guy now knows his stuff. Hey, G Wealth. Yeah, I studied political science. I was a good student in college, right? So shout out to any of my friends watching from India. Your dad asks if you're a good student, whatever, Indian dad asks if you're being a good student in school. I was a good student, so I studied political science. This stuff comes up, and yeah, I love politics, philosophy. I do think utility thinking is powerful. Guys like Robert Nozick, one of the most famous libertarian theorists. He's sort of like an anarcho-libertarian, utopian type thinking guy. But Robert Nozick used game theory. John Rawls used game theory. So in the 1970s, the new political theory that became more powerful than John Locke, the new political theory that became more powerful than Thomas Hobbes. This was the stuff that really blew up, and game theory was at the center of it. It was the fact that, yeah, you have to use economic thinking to think about rational choice, to think about human nature. All of these topics come back up. And yeah, there's a good reason too why people who do political science don't drift to theory, because the idea is also talking about ontology. Maybe it's talking about all this other stuff. And yeah. Who sucks? Yeah. I'll say when you're talking about treating another person like they're subject to your moral decisions, you make moral decrees like Donald Trump and another person suffers for it. That's God sucking, right? God sucks. God doesn't solve any of these problems. Hey, we got Marty Garcia. I don't have a degree in computer programming. Yeah, I'm not that smart. Some people are. But yeah. Someone was asking about data science earlier, and yeah, data science absolutely is just one of those fields, folks. It's just one of those fields. Dun 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 dun. It's just one of them fields. Dun 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 dun. Yeah. And so computer programming creates technology. From a poli-sci perspective. What computer programming is you print PhDs print technology, and then they go help you print money. So it's in some terms, it is difficult to start, but easy, very cheap to build more PhDs. If you're Uncle Sam, you're the deep state, build more PhDs, build more technology, printing factories and research. That's cheap, that's free. And then it's very expensive. It becomes very expensive and costly to actually go do something with that. So this is also game theory, right? Isn't it the case that we think about global education in a sense where we can talk together about how we create discoveries, what the best forms of innovation might be, the most efficient, the most circular, the most sustainable. But it is very expensive. It's very expensive to think that, well, this now goes to liberal capitalism or command economies centered in places like China or aspects of Russia, right? And so when we talk about forcing development out by BRICS, this is really condescending. It's probably not what the economists in BRICS or China or Russia are thinking about. It's also very condescending to say, well, your Mick truck and your Mick belief, your Mick apartment, your Mick Fansly or OF subscription, all of these things at the end of the day, these are all gooner ways to do game theory or economics, right? It's not what anyone's talking about. It's far cheaper to say, well, universities all around the world basically have parity. They're basically the same. And it's true because the only way you know this is true is because you can produce research together. It's not the fact that people can have conferences and conversations, but the dollars and cents, the brass taxes, it does not matter where your grant monies go. Not really. You produce the same research and there's maybe better or worse or slightly more productive, more cited, more useful than others. But what that also means is that, yeah, that's sort of a topic about cooperation, not competition. Where it comes to competition is now you're saying that you need to create debt or credit instruments, right? You need to have central banks. You need to have big Goldman Sachs banks funding not just the Harvard researchers, but what the Harvard researchers and their little brother wants to go do. If your little brother isn't satisfied with their first gaming PC build, guys, then your little brother may go out and want to make 10,000 smart tablets, right? He's going to fly to China. He's going to meet some manufacturers and producers. He's going to ship all the stuff to a factory and pay people to assemble it. He's going to go talk to the people already doing it and say, I think I can do this better than you, just like anywhere else. I want this guy to box me, but I don't think the money makes it worth it for him. Hey, what up? Yeah. I'm about that broke. I would take a fight without being a fighter. So if you guys want to fight or box me or what have you, then I would be super excited to go do that. Yeah, I'd be super excited to go do that. If you guys don't want to see me get punched in the face, you guys can also send super chats. Anyone in the US, if you guys have a chance to send a orange, a pink, a red super chat, those help me hugely. Hype the stream, guys. Yeah, those little nudges. But any super chat, right? I'm like the guy begging from Jesus. I'm like one of the hungry, the sick, the poor, the whores in the Bible. That if you guys any super chat, any YouTube jewels, those are all things that are helpful for me. My current weight, I don't know, 165 going on 150 or something like that. Are we cutting? I'd love to cut, guys. I'd love to cut. Whatever you guys want to do. Whatever you guys want to do. Rawr. Is this what the people say, right? What do I say? What do I say? What? Yeah. Let me lure them in, right? Let me get people tricked in. I appreciate, this is what I like about fight culture is you're currently below 140 for us to, oh, cool. No, I'll just go down. I'm in Ohio. How far are you? Well, first you got to have a bucket of money, right? I could just go train for free. I'd prefer to train. I'd prefer to read books. I'd prefer to eat some yummy food sometimes afterwards. And so I'm going to go with my preferences on this one, B Money. But yeah, you guys got a fight promoter and an audience and a big bucket of money, a big bucket of 10,000 plus, right? Then hit me up and I'll get punched in the face for you. I will get punched in the face happily, but I do appreciate the directness that fighters have, right? I'm happy. I'll go down. You guys got a check. You guys got a date. I'll go down to 135. I don't care. What are we doing, right? What are we actually doing? At the end of the day, our muscles, our meat sack hangs off our bones anyways. And below that, there's something else, right? There's the mystical universe of all. So just tell me the weight, time, place, and absolutely introduce me to the Don King of Licking County in Ohio. Yeah, introduce me to the Don King and the hey, there will be, right? Yeah. And you got that respect factor, man, that would be a nasty one. Me and B Money both making $10,000. We're not going to talk about that, but me and B Money both putting on a little bit of a fight, both kind of understanding the venue, both understanding, it's not going to be a total absolute war of all against all, I would hope. But yeah, is that game theory too? Yeah, sure, I guess if you want to overcomplicate things, You can just say at the end of the day, we'd be fighting for an amateur fight producer, right? So what are you going to get out of it is you're going to get a little bit of footage. You're going to get a little tape. And so you can either believe that I am that type of fighter that can give you good quality tape that's not producible someplace else. And you can take your W as well, right? You can show the big knockout. You can show the big TKO, the tap out. You can show the ref having the call to fight. This is sort of like game theory, but at the end of the day, you're still working for the big boss, right? You're working for the fact it's a small fight producer. You will get 3,000 per month. Thank you. Please don't comment on the channel, right? It's YouTube. If you guys want to ask for transparency, just ask. You guys, I don't think that's nice to talk about other people's, like in a way that has nothing to do with what reality is actually like. It's games all the way up and down, everything. Yeah. Look up the etymology of game. Yeah, 1-star rating looks like they've got some knowledge of this as well. And so game theory is far better, right? Game theory is a way to economically analyze, situationships in politics and life, society, all kinds of stuff, situationships and the whatnot. I have no idea why you would go fight for free. That is trailer park thinking. No offense to anyone, but being a Twitch streamer, and even if you have 300 paid subs, you're finding success on Twitch or whatever it is. The fact that you would go fight for free tells me what you actually believe about your channel and your audience, right? Why would you introduce, because you want to go fight? No, just make a second channel on YouTube and ask your audience to pay for you to fund, or make the sacrifice yourself. If you're not doing it for social media, just when you're not streaming, go train yourself. And when you're not doing social media, spend the $80 a month and live and breathe in a quality fight gym. If you're making a sacrifice when you're not streaming, when you're not working at your part-time job or whatever you just have to do to get by, be networking with fight trainers, right? Be people that either know where your next conversation has to be or can help you progress technically. Right? So it's easy to condition, but I would, and maybe I'm missing the point of what you're saying, but yeah, being a Twitch streamer isn't an excuse to suggest someone fights for free because it's fun. No, Penguin, you cannot. Interaction, we're a small channel, so I just don't give out mods to anyone at this point. Yeah. Interaction itself is a game, and you're also dominating the conversation by asking. I obviously don't know you that well. Do I know you at all? No, this is the first time here. Your first message is asking to mod. Hey, what up, Cranky Mullet? Shout out to you. Happy day. For us to make money, we would have to advertise it together and set it up for a payout. Yeah, sure. So you're not asking me to fight. You're asking me to start a fight company. Right. And so you're going back to the same point where the success of our first fight, where we are creating clips, we're creating fight footage for people that will maybe hire us down the road for a fight. They'll want to promote us in a fight. We're also maybe trying to push back into the audience. We're trying to give a good time to everyone. And we're also trying to win, right? We're trying to win. We've got that incentive of just our pride, being authentic and stuff like that too. And whatever spiff or incentive is on the tail end of that. Not like an exhibition fight, but an actual fight. And so, but now you're saying that's not actually what we're doing. You want just the business side. So yeah, cool. See ya. For us to make money, we would have to, cool. I am part of no company, but you want to start your own company. Never been in a ring before. Yeah, that's exactly right. Why would it, so if that's funny to you that it would, so if that's my number, right, maybe that's why I'm not a fighter, right? Because I don't want to fight for less than $10,000. And so who knows? Yeah, maybe I'm saying that because I have nothing that I could offer or would offer. But it's also not ridiculous to say that, yeah, if there is no possibility for us to discuss before the fight, whether I'm on that level, if I'm an interesting fighter, whatever it is, good Gersten, man, I just got so much feelings about getting knocked in the jaw. And so, yeah, so what you actually wanted to do was mog me by starting a company. You actually wanted to deeply and emotionally mog me by saying that I'm not worth $10,000. My number to not get hit in the head is wrong for some reason to you. I don't understand it. Yeah. So great Mog, bro. Good luck with the game streams. Good luck with the IRL. I'll catch you outside frickin' Chipotle. I'll catch you at Starbucks, bro. What? That makes 0 sense. Yeah. That 1-star rating, that belief is supported. The argument you're producing has absolutely no material support anywhere in reality. The fact that we're able to signify things does not mean that is what the word means. And so saying that the word God came from the same morphs that meant the word good, if you're talking about the Christian God, Elohim or Yeshua, you're also dropping in pretty late, whoever that God is, Allah, you're also dropping in very late. And so I have no clue what you're talking about, right? Go do the other gods, go do the other words for God, and then go do neuroscience, right? Go do actual brains, go do human development. Those are all topics that are more fruitful than what you're talking about. I'll find someone else, lose an opportunity. Cool. All right. I ain't make 10,000 this year, but bro wants to step in a ring and maybe just quit instantly. Cool. Yeah, go find someone else to do it then. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, cool. Whatever you wanted to do, cool. That's amazing. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We are still on the main topic. I wanted to do a topic show. Oh my God. Hey, what up? Thank you, Hizzle. Hizzle, if I had an extra 10K, it would also be yours, homie. Thanks so much for the super chat. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. I appreciate the love, the money love, right? It's money love. Thanks, Hizzle. Also, you're good, homie. You're good, homie. You know, I know some of the mods here on YouTube want to buy their wrenches and stuff like that. And it's cool, guys. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. If you guys want, this is an expensive channel, right? Hizzle, you could donate $0. You could cancel your DucksY membership, and you are still welcome. And you're encouraged even as a wrench here. If you guys want to be a wrench for a day, feel free to drop that red $100 super chat. No chargebacks, no chargy backsies, no shins kicksies, none of that stuff. And yeah. I think you misread the context of your last post. Maybe I did. Sorry. But yeah, we are doing a topical show today, guys. So I'm going to start back at the beginning. Let's have the same conversation. Let's do it twice. So God is worse than game theory, everyone. William Revels asks if I am gay. We used this example earlier. So thank you so much for saying this. Yeah, you know, perhaps you're asking me what it means to have a game theory, and you want me to explain it in LGBTQIA plus terms, but you also just want internet gay talk, right? And so to me, game theory is saying that, yeah, a lot of people here would understand game theory using an analogy of being gay. Right? You can say that throughout history, it has, for some people, right? Not that there's a choice, but different identities, including race, sexual orientation, and religion in various places have produced different probabilities of economic success. And so the game of just saying that, well, identity is a factor of economic success, this is a type of game unto itself. Perhaps there is logic or reasoning in economic terms as to why it is good to be gay from a dollars and cents standpoint, or it's just actually that's based on the data historically deeply inaccurate. And then also why people lie about this. We can see the red pill lie all the time. This is another type of economic game. These are really complicated ones, guys. But yeah, it is an economic game for red pillars to say, well, it's easier for a woman in corporate America in 2026. Hasn't always been, but let's admit, you know, some people say, let's admit that DEI has gone too far. And so we shouldn't have these types of programs, right? This is once again not based on the data, but the opinion that people share in this space is a type of game. It's saying that, yeah, look, it is better for me to be a non-trusted actor. It's better for me to be someone who lies. And that's because I'm pushing for this one economic utility measurement. And so that is sort of the topic. God is worse than game theory. Guys, come on. What do you think? What do you guys think? You know, your Sky Daddy might tell you about the patriarchy. Your Sky Daddy might show you Leviticus. Sky Daddy might tell you all of these other things. And look, when you make this political and social, yeah, there's going to be people who say, well, the world doesn't work like that. It comes back to causality, right? So game theory is one way of looking at causality. Game theory is one way of looking at predictive ways to see what the future might be like. Game theory is one way that you get your man card. You really earn it. It's insane when we can even ask anyone what their skin color is when we hire them. Mr. Pink Cookie Monster. I don't know if that's a troll. But yeah, so it really wouldn't be, right? When we say that the success of a hire, right? Your analysis of a hire isn't subject to bias. Things that are proven long over to not have, right? To have no place in our society. And then on a deeper level, like, I don't know if you actually mean this, you say when we hire them, but tell me about your hiring experience, right? It seems like this is more on the level of what you want to talk about versus the topic here today. No, it's not a troll. Cool. Well, tell me about the last 5 people that you've hired, right? I'll tell you about mine, and then you can tell me about yours too. So yeah, and I think just in my experience or whatever, when we remove bias from the hiring process, this is, again, a really complex example of game theory, but it's saying, yeah, the rules you're going to run into in the universe are also happening to be moral, ethical, and just. It just makes sense that if it's the case that having bias in your hiring process produces the inefficient command economies of the South, the command economies of the USSR, during the Cold War, the inefficiency of the labor busting strikes, in the United States, these types of command or authoritarian economies, cool. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. I just hopped in. Cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you as well. It's good to see you personally. And we are a politics channel. So please, if you have a politics topic, please comment in chat. I would never tell you to never have an opinion about politics. I would, we're not a troll channel. So you guys might hear other atheist content creators to say never procreate, never leave the house, this type of stuff. I don't do any of that stuff here. We are a free speech dialogue type conversation. So while we're jumping around, or you have some supervening view on what reality is like, and we're all supporting the sort of same views, offer your opinion, guys. But yeah, the pinned message is right. God is worse than game theory. That's the debate or the argument today. And if you guys have other topics, feel free to bring them in. My name is Nathan. Online I go by Duck. So I love talking about politics, guys. I can talk about this stuff all day. I'm on my second cup of coffee. I've got my ASU shirt on. So I feel good today, guys. Can rub my chest a little bit here. But maybe the main thing I want to go do is just have a good conversation for a little bit, guys. We've been going for 42 minutes. I want to do a workout and stuff later. But yeah, if there's any topics in politics, life, society you guys want to discuss, I'm happy to do so, guys. I'm happy to sit on stream here today. Hey, what up, Sylvia Stump? What is your political view? How should society orient themselves for 20 years to come? Wow, that's a crazy big question. I have strong tendencies for progressive politics. I think when we look at the externalities produced, the free market actually works with government, and that's what a limited government still is. Government that regulates environmental impact, government that that regulates or has opinions about competition regarding economic development. These are all things that I think are healthy forms of competition for businesses. They produce more accurate information over time. And so you ask the same free market, Sylvia, I'm in the US, by the way, you ask the same people who produced mortgage crises, global credit crunches, you ask the same companies, well, why did this happen? Why was the information bad in the first place? You guys are so efficient. All you got to do is, if you have accurate social media, you have accurate conversations coming in from your business analysts and the whatnot, right? Then nothing ever breaks, nothing fails. This is what market omniscience means. But yeah, take a quick step back on this, just a small, quick step back. And let's say, well, you do actually have financial crises. You do have a 9% increase in global defense spending over the last multiple years. And so when we have competition being produced and inefficiency being produced, why is that, right? These don't seem like organic, go with the flow motions. And so for me, this generally means more demand side economics, some aspect of regulation. And it also means tying the national character, national interest, our own identity to aspects of cosmopolitanism. Take in information from anywhere. That's the ultimate game, right? If I do believe in capitalism, let's just say, or whatever, or I don't care. Like, I'm not like wearing a capitalism t-shirt. I'm wearing a university t-shirt. But why wouldn't we really focus ourselves on taking in information, producing accurate information on the scale of global politics? This isn't globalism. This isn't the deep state. This isn't Breitbart. This isn't fake economic thinking. This is what real economic thinking actually means. It means that people make better decisions, they innovate more quickly, and they also narrow their focus. They waste less money. They waste less of the bank's money. They produce less arbitrary cost increases for their own customers when you have accurate information, but that can come from anywhere. God competes, right? Norman Haynes, I would argue, I'm making the case that God does compete. Look at people like Pastor Doug Wilson. Look at people like Charlie Kirk. People say God is who informs our, not just our worldview, but what we think the world is like. And so I have no problem. I have no dispute with someone saying, well, I get my ethics from the book of Genesis. I mean, I think that is, what would you say? It's dumb. That makes you a stupid person. But it doesn't make you wrong in a social or political sense. It just makes you stupid, right? But someone saying I get my morality from the 10 Commandments is very different than saying, well, I think about Ford Motor Company or Kia. I think about the US's relationship with Korea, or how the IMF and international finance shaped Korea's recession and depression recovery in the 1990s. I do this via Bible. And what Aisha is always saying is correct. Yeah, there's no way that God is going to understand how competition in the international system shapes up. It's going to obfuscate your thinking. Can you not say that? Thank you. I'm just going to delete all your messages. Thank you. Welcome to the stream as well. And here we go, guys. Yeah, and so that's my main view, is God has a lot to do with game theory, because he doesn't have anything to do with game theory directly, but that religious worldview substitutes for a tool set, which includes things like game theory, which includes things like economic thinking, which produces better decision sort of criteria than something arbitrary and non-existent in the Bible. I used to be very left-wing, but I've become a radical centrist over the last few years. I found the left can be just as immoral and deluded as the far right, albeit off different thoughts. I mean, I don't believe in collectivism. I have no idea what you actually believe. But yeah, if you were very left-wing, you probably, I would interpret that you don't only vote left, but you believe that political structures, short of revolutionary thinking, short of actual revolution as described by Marx, ultimately either evolve or have a moral mandate, a moral and political mandate to shift towards collectivist type policies. And so that's what I would mean by left wing. But if you're a radical centrist, to me, I don't know what that means. Right? In some sense, the terms I would use that aren't internet but are more real world is, what's your view of partisanship? Do you think it's good or bad that there's partisanship and inefficiency, right? This is an old topic. Henry David Thoreau even, right? Henry David Thoreau was one of the first punk rock, almost anarchy, hippie tree hugging, buy the suit of your suitcase. This guy traveled around. He's not that kind of hippie. He wasn't out hugging boats, but he was penning essays that could be read as invective, an invective toward the Congress, an invective toward the people who do not want you to live freely, invective to people that want to create wars and not apologize for them. And so to me, radical centrism doesn't mean as much as very left-wing. Partisanship, practical application of things does. And radical centrist, you could still vote for do-nothing politicians. You could still vote, as from a game theory perspective, you vote for do-nothing politicians because, again, God can't explain this to you, but game theory can explain that do-nothing politicians keep the most expedient and sort of progress-producing thing in motion. And so I find the left can be just as immoral, just as deluded. Yeah, that's a very psychological interpretation. You're talking about either moral agents or moral patients. You're talking about either intentionality or consequentialism. And so for me, consequentialism, because I do political science and philosophy content, to me, it's about the state of affairs in the world. It's about what the world is like. It's also maybe includes aspects of identity. Do we feel like we can separate from our identity? So, those are generally my thoughts. If you want to go off dirt paths or you want to go on dirt paths, different paths or whatever it is, what have you, Those are also cool things. But again, that's a form of praxis. So I don't agree with that, right? Praxis is a Marxian sort of idea or thought. So generally, I think you're very open, honest, forthcoming with your views. I don't believe anything that you said, Sylvia Stomp, to be honest, has any basis in any world or reality. There's absolutely no epistemic draw. It's not referenceable in any known theory. Normally, I don't say this on the channel, but normally, like when MAGA Republicans come in and do this, someone on the internet is going to tell them, don't vote, don't ever have a belief, these types of things. And yeah. What do you make of technologies such as Caspa? I have no idea. Cryptocurrency. So you're talking about cryptocurrency. Yeah, proof of work. Yeah, I don't understand why wage data over longer periods of times, either on a sector, state, or firm level, those are all more useful levels of analysis than cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency isn't about people. Here's one of the things people don't understand about cryptocurrency. Is cryptocurrency is about data. It's about transaction data. It is agnostic to who the actual person is, their psychology, their belief in cryptocurrency. It's agnostic to even what it's trading at, right? The ledger itself has nothing to do. With people and psychology and your mind about things. So to me, this is trailer park thinking, right? It's very low tier thinking. This comes from the world of tech, comes from the world of really, really poorly done, poorly executed last few years of, you could say, either venture or enterprise style technology. But yeah, cryptocurrency has nothing to do with how you feel about cryptocurrency. When you say proof of work, it seems again like a praxis, like it has nothing to do with what reality is like. And so saying it's decentralized, again, yeah, that just says what the technology is. You say it like it's normative. Why though, right? You're still assuming things in your argument that I haven't either granted or concluded to you. And you're assuming things that, like, yeah, decentralized literally just means where what is decentralized, what is actually decentralized. And so, so I don't agree. How do you know what God knows or not? What God doesn't exist? Where can I find how do you know what God knows or doesn't, right? This is also political theory too. This is Norman Haynes' question or statement. How can you know what God knows or not? God was written about as mysterious from a very important time period. In a way that's still recognized today. It's not the most important topic. So the banana for scale isn't that the evil atheists are trying to take God out of schools or education. Just the evil atheists like me want to develop understanding and tolerance. So the little kids and young ones learning Hobbes for the first time or Locke have the correct way to understand that. But yeah, Machiavelli wrote about God as mysterious. Thomas Hobbes wrote about God as mysterious. And so there is this idea that when you have ambiguity in metaphysics, the state of a constructed system, or whatever you want to have in more technical terms, and there is a God or a ruler who has to make decisions in this sort of ambiguity, where there's these forces you cannot empirically understand, right? That's the linchpin of the mystery here, is that empiricism, and then however you interpret that in the world does not contain a deeper answer. And so, so how can you know what God knows or not? What the fuck does that mean? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, did you read that before you posted it? What the fuck does that mean in any fucking possible world? Do you have a library card? What the fuck does that mean to ask someone, how can you know what God knows or not? What the ever living fuck does that mean? Atheism is a scientifically sound view. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's also not true. What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Scientifically sound. What does scientifically sound mean? What is a view? What does scientifically sound mean? And where in science have they once talked about atheism? What does that mean? Hey, bro, where are you from? I'm in Arizona. I'm from ASU. Duck from ASU, Arizona State University. Yeah, I'm from ASU. I live in Arizona. No, but I had a 10-year career in tech. And yeah, I went to go chill with my people on the internet. Not because I have $0. I have 60 cents in my savings account. So if you guys want to send in, I have 60 cents in this world. If you guys want to send super chat, YouTube gifts, you guys are in the US, you want to do gift memberships, any of the ways to support me on YouTube, I appreciate all those guys. Not joking. I have 60 cents in my account. I'm hoping for a better month next month. But yeah, if you guys want to support me, support your favorite creators, feel free. I've got more content coming out for you guys. I just posted a video on Kant's perpetual peace. And the reason is and no offense to you guys, but saying things like atheism is scientifically sound view, that means literally nothing. It never has, and it never can. Precisely, there is no data point in any, cool, precisely, there is no data point of any supernatural contact with reality. I have no idea what that has to do with data. How are you closing the divide between data and supernatural? What is the divide between data and supernatural? There is no relationship, so there is no connection to that, right? Data can be using a stick. You put a small stick in your hand instead of a large LLM or vector database. You put a small stick in your hand and you etch something on the ground, right? So that can be data. You can consider this data. Other people can see it and know that it's representing some real world event. Data can also be massive databases that have, like Google CMS. Google CMS is a database. So it has these datums that model complex things like a video, right? And and so that actually means something that's not made up. And then you also probably have lots of metrics and whatnot. Is it logically sound to withhold belief until there is evidence? It is. Why are you declaring things? Why are you declaring things, Sylvia? I'm going to give you I appreciate you supporting the stream, but it's not really supporting. I'm going to give you a 30-minute timeout. If you want to come back and talk about this stuff, feel free. I'm not misinterpreting that. Dude, you look like the Liver King guy. Thank you. Yeah, that guy did apparently that guy claimed to have done a bunch of PEDs. Apparently there's a lot of evidence he did PEDs. And yeah, he's also, if you want to see what I think of actual firearms 2A, that guy went off the rails. I don't think you know who that is. Cool. Because of my knowledge, because of your knowledge, I got 250,000 views on my, cool. Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Scenario Stories. Shout out to you. Congrats. Supporters should create each other, guys. If you're you're trying to get TikTok famous, or you're trying to create content that helps your audience help the world, or whatever, right? You just want to help the world and you want an audience that cares about that, then that's completely up to you guys. That's awesome. People barely speak English, let alone speak with any kind of intentionality. What? So people barely speak the vernacular or native tongue, let alone speak with any kind of intentionality. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you put intentionality and consequence in one bucket, we're usually talking in terms of grammar, not semantics. And so people talk about like psychosomatic harmony or brain-body connection, mind-body connection, what's going on in our thought process, how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about a topic, and what our body's able to do. And so it's not that huge of a deal. It's not like the be-all, end-all, buddy, just like God. Hey, God ain't the be-all, end-all, buddy. Science ain't the be-all, end-all either, right? Learn a lot more about science than you do about God, for sure. Right? This is what a political scientist who's an atheist will tell you on the internet. Hey, God ain't the be all end all. Science ain't the be all end all. But guess what? You don't need to know that much about God. You're not going to be worse off for it. Go learn a lot more about science, right? You're going to be way better off for that, right? But yeah, people barely speak English, let alone. So when we put consequence or intentionality, we have no reason or justification for what we say. We don't attribute causality in the actual world to any known force or any known sort of occurrence, whatever it might be. I don't think you know who that is. Okay. What is a PED? How is a PED? Performance enhancing drug. Yeah. Jesus loves you all and he's coming soon. Make heaven crowded. Cool. That's a very strange statement. You're prescribing where someone's going to be into the future. I don't know why you don't see that is a strange statement. That's a very strange statement. God is worse than game theory. That is the title of the stream. That is what's on the pinned message. To me, that is what I would define as a make-belief a Mick belief that the purpose or teleos is salvation. And so we allow something, we tolerate, we do not work toward forms of suffering in this lifetime that are not amenable or acceptable for ourselves and our families. When we ask all of the possibilities that society and nature can get us, it is freedom for me and not for thee. Shout out to Robin Webster. If Robin Webster is listening and maybe trying to catch a little bit of shut-eye in the chat anywhere, freedom for me and not for thee. But look like a mix of him and Dave Portnoy, but in a good way. I don't know who Dave Portnoy is. Just kidding. I do know who Dave. Yeah. So, okay. Spiritual psychosis goes hard. Spiritual psychosis goes hard. I don't know what that is. That seems like also made up words, right? That's also sounds like MAGA creativity, guys. Are we just doing roast sessions and fighting? Apparently that's what I'm doing. Get another cup of coffee. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Hey, what's up, Vaccinator? How are you doing? How are you doing? Woohoo! Hey, what's up, Armand4170? Shout out to you guys. Good to see you. Woohoo! And I live in La Vida. Woohoo! And I'm living La Vida. Right. You guys want to do kind of Christian style, Christian political science debate, guys? All right. Yeah, Max Weber was one of the first people to take a game theoretic approach to Christianity. Max Weber wrote this theory called the Protestant ethic, and it was it could be said to be a theory. It wouldn't be perhaps that widely studyable as itself a theory today. But in terms of early high quality empirical sociological work, it was very good, right? It was very good. Max Weber is a sociologist, still considered a sociologist. He is not a religious studies major. He is not a theologian. Max Weber was a sociologist, and he wrote this theory called the Protestant ethic. And it basically said that, well, one of the competitive advantages of Western democracies, especially in places like the United States, is that, yeah, people believe this crazy delusional idea, in my opinion, but people believe this idea that you have wealth or success because of God, right? Because you worked hard, because God made you as a hardworking person. And so it's compatible with our God-given human nature to make money, to be successful. And so why is this good? Well, it describes some psychology. It maybe describes a social force that exists. But this is also the hippie, woke, nonsense sort of version of political science or sociology. It doesn't just cover the fact, right? There is no way to reach out. This is a weakness of the theory, is you're not really clear why something can be attributed to a psychology because it is never observable, right? You cannot observe someone having faith. You cannot observe the actual phenomenon that you wish to describe. And so some people will say, well, this is just an old problem in science. No, it's not. It is just not science, right? It's not scientific. So yeah, Max Weber was an early sociologist, but to say that he had the ability to support a theory beyond qualitative data and maybe weakly inferable quantitative data is would be correct to say. Max Weber would have little way of supporting the Protestant ethic. And the biggest challenges from schools in political science or economics or sociology looks at rule of law, looks at property rights in the United States. It says that the United States had basically unfettered access, no competition to resources like iron ore, resources like oil and coal. And so as soon as the United States was spread out enough, you could basically fuel fossil fuels into cities, right? This is not ideology. This is not environmental conservation. The energy density of fossil fuels is sufficient to explain why fossil fuels make cities go fast. City go fast guy, city go burn guy, no shinsy kicksies, no whoopsie whatsies. It is all city go fast guy. And so having a spread out wide economic zone, you play chess. I'm not a great chess player. Wait, so you're arguing God's existence? I'm a little late and not fully certain, but if so, more power to you, man. I'm not arguing God's existence. That is not what the post says. That is not anything what the pinned message says. But yeah, so the Protestant ethic doesn't explain a large free trade economic zone that can contain primary and tertiary production and everything in between. You can have energy, manufacturing, and services, right? So you have energy, manufacturing, and services and food. that can create credit and debt. You have energy, manufacturing, service, and food that can create national security. You have energy, manufacturing, and services that can make society more livable, right? And so, yeah, Max Weber, the Protestant ethic, maybe explains to me in a qualitative, weakly inferable, quantitative sense how to use Christendom to explain the success of the United States. But it is ultimately not about any of the sort of larger causes that are easily inferable. You can have lots of data about primary, secondary, and tertiary production are easily inferable. You can have lots of data about how rule of law or economic rights are interpreted and applied in the United States. Easily inferable when you reference constructed systems that don't really exist, like an urban area. You can very easily minimize or shrink the scope of a study, both qualitatively and quantitatively, to a time period and region. Max Weber cannot do that. And it is easily inferable. At the end of the day, looking at something to attribute the success to the United States as something like liberal principles and the space, the geography. You can also make arguments, theory cases that while the structure of government, the actual urban planning phases or some shit, I don't know, the role of education as outlined by not just de Tocqueville, but later by people like John Dewey and William James and other pragmatists. But the general political structure of the United States was built to be opportunistic and to compete off of these factors and not to compete off of God. That sounds very silly. The 1776 moment was designed to compete for God. No, it wasn't, right? God sucks. Game theory is better. God is a shitty explanation. God is a shitty, non-existent person. Game theory is awesome. Game theory is a tool. Game theory doesn't need to dominate your day, your life, or your time, but game theory is real. God is not. I believe God is real, and God also sucks. If God was real, God would suck. That's why I became an atheist. If God is real, God sucks. I believe God is real and he is spiritual. No one can understand yet. Cool. Yeah, we just talked about this, Josh. That's right back into the 15th century up through the maybe 17th and 18th century. So that's great, right? And you can also, maybe your version goes back further, the understandability of God. And so I would say, for me personally, I would misappropriate Josh P. style thinking and say that understanding indigenous religion, understanding how indigenous religions, how indigenous governance, indigenous laws all around the world, how did these things preserve civilization and society and differences for hundreds and thousands of years, right? Maybe not trying to apply it in our own lives, but just because it's curious to understand how that happened and what it's about. That to me is more useful than saying that sky daddy you can observe and can exist that doesn't exist. So there you go, everyone. No religious spamming. I'm trying to figure out where he got the NASA shirt from. Yeah, you guys want the NASA shirt? Yeah. Hey, instead of doing like Fansly OF stuff and selling socks or whatever it is, socks and my sports bras. Maybe I'll sell old science and university t-shirts. Yeah, I'll ask for my fans, the Ducks Y fans. No super chats, no hype in the stream with gifts, but send me science and university t-shirts and I'll put them on an OF website, right? I'll start an OF for Fansly and just flex on them, I mean, are you saying that that God doesn't exist? In the political and social space, what I'm talking about today, my argument, and I'm happy to change this, in the social and political, not space, but just what is society, what is politics, I'm saying God sucks. I'm saying God is, please never vote, right? I'm saying please never vote, please never voice your values in that society. Truthfully, right? I'm saying that economic thinking like game theory is only one small tool, and it can demonstrate that a belief in God made social and political is 100 times worse. God is not a mathematical equation. Where is that? Again, show me the museum. Show me the museum I can go to show the mathematical equation of God. You will just start making stuff up. Am I an engineer? I am not an engineer. I suck at engineering stuff, right? That's why I drifted towards theory and philosophy. But yeah, I do have a bachelor's of science. I'm not that educated, not that smart compared to other people. Not that knowledgeable or something like this. But yeah, in the US, A&M universities, what was it? Agriculture and manufacturing or something like this, or in machining. So we did in the U.S. Our universities were not for engineering, but they were for practical application of skills into this sort of large open liberal economic system. In some senses, liberal, right? What's your opinion on Xenu? Xenu's the Scientology one. Yeah, the Scientology one. I would woo my way. If I had to go to be a Scientologist, I would woo my way through it. I would shut my brain off and just woo. Oh, I'm getting audited. Whoa. Here's me before. Whoa. Okay, and then audit me after. And okay. So I would woo my way through Scientology so I didn't have to do it. Hey, how are things? They are okay. How are your things? Have you studied advanced mathematics? No, I'm not that smart, Yadav. I was talking about von Neumann sets on some OnlyFans girls chat, and she blocked me. Yeah, she started hiding my messages. I wasn't trying to fix her stream. I wasn't trying to fix her. I wasn't doing the masculine fixing things, but I did bring up von Neumann universes and von Neumann hierarchies, and then I got blocked. Deeply considered. So, yeah. So fellas, that's what's coming for you. But wait, my man, every Protestant country, not only in SAD, growed because they had Christian values. What are you talking about? So we're here. Here's the game we're playing, Crest. So this is the game we play on this channel: is read your message backwards. That had effect. So what is an affect or an effect? First of all, I think that's a Freudian slip. So it impacted your feelings or it impacted actual reality. What's the difference? So what does it mean to have an effect? What is a cause? What is causal closure? Right? What is a grouping, or what is essentially a thing that can do what you're talking about? What is an economy to you? What is social life? What the flying fuck does social life have to do with anything that you're talking about? It has nothing to do with it. So read your message backwards. You're literally saying, but wait, right? Your point is making me stop the stream for other people. So we're trying today. This is the game. I'm going to give you a 30-minute timeout. If you want to come back and contribute to the conversation, feel free. I'd love to talk about political science. You seem interested in sociology, poli-sci, politics, religion, whatever. I don't care, BS. But I think you attempting to contribute to the conversation is more distracting. Putting in the hours, right on, brother. Cool, yeah. I got banned on one of our channels for talking about math stuff. Pure math physics stuff, right? I guess it's sort of math still, but hey, there you go. Have you studied advanced mathematics? Someone said, Xenu. I like the Xenu question. Why don't you study maths, man? Yeah, my brain doesn't work that way, right? In political science, this isn't saying that I don't have the ability to compute things. I do, right? That's the whole point of the stream. But the way that some people can hold sort of abstract or systemic concepts in their minds and do computations quickly. Yeah, it's intimidating. I finished, here's my virtue signal. I finished calculus in high school. I was very happy I didn't have to do it in college too, right? So I did calculus in high school. I got my college credits for it, and then I just took statistics classes. And yeah, statistics and basically the methodology and stats classes were not that complicated. It's basically assembling data into usable data. It's basically assembling data into the usable data into a calculation or a way to format that data so it is then readable, right? So it's basically just one giant transformation or process at the level of undergraduate stats. But yeah, I don't know what it has to do with anything. You're ooh-wooing, asking me if I'm trans. What does that have to do with anything? Right? If there's a trans person here who is listening to the conversation that we were listening to and did not want to themselves answer if they were trans or not, they would maybe see that you dominating a conversation about now identity, your own identity politics, is not upright or it's wrong. This dude was a Spartan in his past life. No, I wasn't. I don't know who the fuck you are. Spartans, do you believe in God? Just answer yes or no. Yeah, it's none of your business if I believe in God. in a political context, but absolutely not. No. I range from believing that like Philip Goff is a academic philosopher. Philip Goff is an academic philosopher. He's argued for a concept of a minimal God, right? Not the God of the Bible, not the God of the Torah, not Elohim, not Yeshua, not Allah, not the gods the Hindus worship who circling time, none of this stuff. And so Philip Goff's version of an absurd, almost minimal God, I believe, is the most interesting and perhaps the most supported. It is also the smallest version. And yeah, so I don't think it's a yes or a no question as the way that you're asking. But in the way you're asking a yes or no question, no, I don't want to hear about what you think about God right now. I don't truly give a fuck. If you want to respond to the argument, God is worse than game theory, feel free to do so, I guess. That's what you guys want to do. Awesome. Sick. Yeah. Listen to me dominate you. Don't try to dominate the conversation. Don't distract. If there's something that's better than nothing to discuss, why not do that? Hello, caveman from 1550. Hey, I swallow. Great to see you. Haha, he looks like a caveman. Do you even know about LGBT? Bring whatever you want to talk about LGBTQ. Are you secretly Enemy Charlie or something like this? Enemy Charlie a while back shared her most recent academic paper, which was about the treatment of trans lesbians in the Middle Ages, right? And so there's actually great stories. There's great data. So horrible stories, right? But from a empirical perspective, there's great data on and evidence of how trans people and lesbians were treated in the Middle Ages. So it's just very fascinating. There's your Christianity, right? Another blip on the map. That's what your God wanted. So that's what your God, you can call it patriarchy, but hey, there you go. Everybody was in the patriarchy, weren't they? What does that reduce down to? Yeah, the political animal wants to say God is the reason we make people suffer. My man doesn't. Cool. Thanks, I swallow. There's no utility for having you hang out. Thanks for pushing into it, Yashpak. Appreciate it. What's your view on Elon Musk? What do you guys think about Elon Musk, everyone? Why are you so tensed up, bro? I'm getting pretty loose with this. One, guys. You guys can come back and talk philosophy, politics, etc. Whatever you guys want. My view on Elon Musk is a political and social actor, and so he's not your best friend. He's not your neighbor. And so why do you have an interpersonal relationship or opinion about Elon Musk? Why do you have an intrapersonal relationship about Elon Musk? Isn't it enough, right? This is how dumb the internet's gotten. This is how stupid the internet and social media has gotten. It's true. It's 100% true that instead of just having an opinion about the correct usages of lithium, that's really hard. But maybe we can say, well, the economics should tell us something about this, or how often politicians speak about EVs, or how big banks like SoftBank and Vision Fund talk about EVs should tell us something about the industry, right? Really crazy hippie stuff. Curiously, it's the same hippie stuff that someone like Sam Altman would think about and make a decision based on, right? It's the same thing that mega billionaires will make decisions based on. It's the same things that former federal chairperson like Ben Bernanke would actually look at and make a decision based on. So crazy hippie stuff. But anyways, instead of just having inference about the system that Elon Musk operates in, because he is not your frat buddy, he is not a frat guy chugging 30 racks of Coors Light. You want to ask what I think about good old buddy Elon Musk. I have no opinions about Elon Musk. I don't know him. I have zero interest in actually meeting Elon Musk. What do you do? Why do you matter? Like, okay, we're going to be best friends? No, we would not be, right? We would not be, because we just do not know each other, first of all. Second of all, what do you do, right? So you do something that's relevant to me. Cool. We're going to talk for 5 or 10 minutes. You're going to tell me about what you do. I'm going to tell you about what I do. You want to make it a 30-minute conversation? Cool, right? We both reserve the right to do something like that. I do not know who Elon Musk is. I do not care about Elon Musk. You ain't duck. You're too well spoken and intelligent for the people. What are you talking about, Brian? Did you just drop in to say something like that? What does that even mean? I'm too well spoken on here, and they're just trolls. I have no clue what that means. Destiny after being out of the woods for a month. I'm not Destiny. I don't enjoy Destiny's content. I think Destiny is a fake Democrat. So whatever you want me to say back to that. I don't understand why you guys have personal gaming relationships at 10 a.m. on the internet to things that aren't game theory, right? Whatever. It makes absolutely zero sense. Hop, skip, and a jump someplace else. Make it bigger, guys. Make the game bigger, guys. You guys, maybe you guys didn't wake up yet today. You guys didn't have your own cups of coffee. Guys, wake up. Wake up, right? I got the University of Arizona ASU shirt on today, so shout out. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's your own subjective interpretation. I don't know what a troll is. I have no opinion or perspective on defining what a troll is either. Brian. Yeah, you offer a way to dominate the conversation that adds zero value as well. So cool. Let's send money away, right? Let's send money packing. Let's send money walking. Do you guys know who my people are? Are we collecting bruises? Who are my people, guys? Who are my fucking people? Do you guys know who they are? My people are fucking drunkards. They're trash. They're degens. My people are pieces of shit. Who the fuck are my people? Huh? Are my people big fucking tech money? I don't give a fuck. You guys think that's a fucking joke? Where would I make my money? I'd make my money fucking anywhere. Who are my people? Who the fuck are you? What do you know? What can you do? Who can you be kind to? Who are my people? My people are degens, drunks, pieces of shit. My people are the sinners, the prostitutes, the whores judged by Christianity. I don't give a fuck that you're a billionaire. I don't know who the fuck you are. Bitch. Yeah, go hang out with it. Go hang out, right? This is what I want to see. I want to see YouTube chat room going and having a dance party, a rave with Elon Musk, all your best buddies, right? Why don't you guys call the crypto billionaires Donald Trump wants to hang out with? Because you guys are such cool guys, right? You guys all have such valuable opinions, right? I mean, what a fucking joke. What a delusion. I don't give a fuck how much money you make. Guess what? I used to make $300,000 a year. Go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. Not actually over the course of a whole W-2, but yeah. I did make like, what was it? It was like 150, 180 or something like that in Arizona dollars. So I made a lot of money. So guess what? Once it doesn't take that much. If you guys have not made the equivalent of $70,000 in American dollars, this is what psychologists and psychologists say brings fulfillment and life happiness. There is a mathematical number. It's $60,000 to $70,000 a year. Means that you don't have stress in your life anymore, right? Maybe it means you have this new task or play set of something to be a steward of. If you accept you're a steward of capital, a steward of money, but it doesn't make you more happy actually. And so when I say that my people are anyone, right? Maybe one of the reasons is that not everyone on planet Earth has made $70,000 in US dollars in their life before. Maybe it's also the case that politicians in Washington who follow Donald Trump don't care about you. They don't care about people in other countries. They don't care about people in their own country. They would say, I'd rather play fun and games while the getting's good, right? I'd rather build my people's opinion of me while their getting is good, right? You're doing well, you're happy. Boy, it sure looks like Donald Trump is spending your money on all the right attack helicopters. They're hiring all the right people to go work in the military, learn how to shoot. They're hiring all the right people to go get combat pay in frickin' Newark, in frickin' in San Jose, California. Whatever. Oh, yeah. What is wealth? Why don't you start with the opposite, right? Steven, we're doing the Ducks Y game of reading your comment backwards. So yeah, you guys want a little man card cred on today's stream. You guys want a human dignity cred, man card, red pill cred, no pill cred on today's stream. What is wealth? What actually is wealth? I don't care about the Fed. I don't care about the deep state, but you say wealth, to be honest. What does the money actually do? What is money? Who doesn't have it? Who wouldn't share your opinion of it? Where in the world are they? When in the world are they? Appreciate the compliment. Both sides don't have to give a abolish citizens united. Abolish citizens united. Okay, cool. Yeah, money votes. I guess that's not wealth though, right? That's not what you can do if you have an extra 5%. You have an extra 5% of your salary you're not spending. You have an extra 5% of your salary that you're not spending. So money runs a lot on what happens in the world. Give me the void pill. Hell yeah, brother. We got a shout out to the absurdist or existentialist in the chat. Good to see everybody. No stoic pills, no ascetic pills, no cynic pills. We're going for the void pills, right? There's not like an emptiness of a nothing that can be interpreted anyway. It's just an actual nothing. It's an actual void. For people like Sartre, there isn't a religious context. For people like Sartre, Jean Paul Sartre, there isn't a religious context like in Buddhism, right? Like in Buddhism, what I would say is, well, Buddhism says that, yeah, in the void, maybe you experience joy or you experience suffering joyfully. You can experience any of these things. You can experience what a Taoist would refer to as a process or a self or a being, right? A perspective within a process or change. You know, sometimes we use these change processes and selves to create contingencies. And these may be like something like a form of suffering or joy in Buddhism. They don't have to be, right? It's teleological. It's not some uncaused becoming of things or whatever you might say. But Jean Paul Sartre says, no, none of that actually. As a result of this, you can attribute even your sense of causality is like this thing swirling around, guys, right? Like if I have my microphone here, it's, you know, it is, yeah. It is like swirling around, you know, it's like stirring a big pot of chili. Is that my microphone is me? There's actually nothing here, right? It's not that absurd. It's a little absurd, but so all of my causes, all of my religions, all my stuff, I do this. I do the verb of defining things in Jean Paul Sartre's existentialism. And then I step in, folks. It's just me talking. It's just me being nothing. There's no more economics. There's no more job, no more house payment. There's no more food, right? The important stuff. There's no more observing a cow in a cage who's going to be slaughtered. If you're a vegan, shout out. There's no more potato chips, vegan potato chips. There's no more university shirts. There's no more global education, no more global identity. It's just you, just you. So this is Jean Paul Sartre's version of existentialism, that that there's a void or an emptiness in the being of the self. And so it's not even the case that we use systems like change processes in Taoism, or that methodological naturalism, scientific worldviews, using empiricism, using empirical systems to produce something practical or naturally true. That stuff still doesn't matter, right? These are still things that you can say, well, there's another way of thinking. Something else can swirl around, right? You go back here, guys, you're nothing. You want to lose your atheism, your naturalistic worldview. You want to lose your Christianity. Jean Paul Sartre didn't say, like Kierkegaard, that our absurdity or emptiness, you know, yeah, this may be right, but at the end of it, you zoom out and your leap of faith is about God, right? Your leap of faith is about actual God, not a fake version of God, but it is God, the emanating thing, the thing that becomes. And so for scientists, like, you know, people who believe in science somewhat like myself, the thing that emanates or becomes is, well, we have beliefs and explanations, right? Our neuroscience in a very hyper modern sense, our brain, we can have a mind or a brain to be some way, a mind to be some way about something, however you want to say it, that isn't stupid, you can say it, right? But not for Jean Paul Sartre. Jean Paul Sartre would say, well, that sounds good because you've got cell phones, Wi-Fi, internet, and you can strip this away and you can wonder what's human nature is like, what society is like. Why is human nature this way with Wi-Fi, internet, when there's little plants and animals, little buggies, when some of us have wives, husbands, spouses, partners, some of us have little kids in our lives. We've got our own families we're rearing. But for Jean Paul Sartre, he says, whoa, bro, slow down. Why don't you go back to Lucy? Why don't you go back to Homo erectus? Why don't you ask what an elephant or a giraffe is like? Because guess what they do? They're going to start swirling again, guys, right? Here's me. Here's actually me, but I'm swirling. I'm living my life. And, you know, I am an oxen trader in the city of Angenima in Chad, right? I'm an oxen trader. And so I'm not better or worse. No one's saying that this person's better or worse, but I understand what keeps oxen healthy. I understand what keeps my family fed. I understand Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday, what I do. I understand all the stuff. I understand geopolitics, right? Because I live in a nation with 1.2 million refugees, and I understand my history too. So when I take all the things that I'm actually able to swirl around with, and I say, wow, this is very complex. This is also, some of the stuff is just as simple as it is. And some of the stuff is also, it's historical. It goes back to the same 10,000 BCE that you do. It goes back to the same 1990s of the European Union as you do. And I swirl around, and guess what? I'm back here. Where did scientific naturalism go? Where did global education go? Yeah, maybe it's real or it's there later, earlier for some reason. Who knows? But that's sort of incidental to Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre says, well, it's not that you didn't understand this person of Anjani Machad. They're also just making up shit just like you, right? Because your beingness, your actual ontology is a nothingness. And so Jean-Paul Sartre, this existential character, ends up doing that kind of stuff. Money does give you more social, societal value, but no intrinsic value for sure. That's left for anyone to decide. Calm the F down, dude. Hey, what's up, Dancing on the Sun? I don't think I know who you are, but shout out to you, brother. Shout out. Great to see everyone. Yeah, great to see everyone. Yeah, including breaths, inclusion of breaths, recognition of breaths, recognition of stuff, right? This is all important stuff too. Yeah, existentialists have always been very welcoming. I think this is the difference. Friedrich Nietzsche said that, well, when we deconstruct meaning, when you're a nihilist, you become powerful. You want to dominate people. But this doesn't produce a meaningful life to people. It doesn't produce wisdom and meaningful lives. Friedrich Nietzsche doesn't tell you how to live a quality life. He doesn't tell you how others have lived quality lives. He doesn't even tell you what the worst form of lives are. He says, well, these are all things that, at the end of it, as deep as you believe in things, you don't. So we're not going to give Nietzsche his credit today. We're not going to talk about the philosophy of nihilism, which does seem to make a positive or affirming claim that no, there isn't nothing, but there is a nothing that is nihilism. There's a nothing that a Ubermensch can make a judgment or have a belief about. It makes zero sense, actually. Makes absolutely zero sense in any sensible world. Yeah, crazy stuff, guys. I'm an idiot. I'm a huge idiot. Am I spiritually a woman? I have intuition and I have discerning judgments, but the title of the stream, Daniel, is God is Worse Than Game Theory. So I don't know if that makes my identity man or woman, but I do believe that game theory is about economics. And so my intuition is about people, but it's not always about your feelings or emotions. It's not even just how you situate yourself with something or whatever, right? Creating differences. I'm just going to time Daniel because that's a stupid fucking question. So there you go. How easy is that? See you, Daniel. You can come back if you want to talk about politics and philosophy and not derail the conversation. That's how we can decide things now. Do I understand what? Duck, you are what the chat says you are. Cool. And you're off the channel for 24 hours too. Cool. Hey, my name is Aves, but you can call me Rusty. You want to be a comfort character name? What's your name and how are you? I don't know who you are. Thank you. That's how that conversation started and ended, right? You said something, I said something back. So that's the end of that conversation. Thoreau, I'm thoroughly upset at you. Thoreau's a great writer. He's a very complicated, hard writer to read. To actually read what he's talking about, Thoreau is a very difficult writer to read. The essay on civil disobedience is very good. At one point I had read it. At one point I had a video up. I took it down, but I had a video reading through the first 2 or 3 paragraphs only of, if you guys want a primer to Henry David Thoreau, his essay on civil disobedience, I'll post it in chat in just a second here, is very good. Thank you for bringing that up. I recommend him for American or anyone. If you're interested in political theory and you want this American essay, it's very important in the history of American political thought. It shows that those not participating in politics, not participating in pragmatism of the day, can still offer outside critiques. So civil disobedience, for this reason that Henry David Thoreau was an outsider, maybe he could be said to be an anti-disestablishmentarian. He could be said to be a lot of things, he could be said to be YN US politics or something like that. No offense, anyone. But Henry David Thoreau is he is a very important thinker. You guys know that. You guys deeply understand that. I know you guys understand what I mean when I say that Henry David Thoreau was an outsider to the discussion, the moment that was existing during the Mexican-American War at that time. You guys are spot on. You guys are in lockstep with me on that. So shout out to you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed me talking and telling you something. I'm glad that was beneficial to you guys. But I am going to put the link to civil disobedience because someone asked about it. Yeah, free essay online. You guys are in lockstep with me because it benefits you. No one would say, well, I probably couldn't actually read and write an essay on the first 3 paragraphs of this, right? This is what I did at ASU is I would see a paper and I didn't have some like great pronouncement that I'm an idiot, but I wouldn't know if you asked me, what's the core argument? I'd either look through it and try to flub it, or I would say, I didn't read it yet. I didn't read it. You told me to read the essay. God, I didn't do it. I can't do it. I didn't do it. But yeah, so there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference to saying that I don't understand something, but how many of you guys could read this essay and offer, here, let me give you guys just a quick soundbite, eliminate the 40 hours for the week. Hey, all day. Great to see you, Pete. What's up? Give me liberty. I don't know who that is. What wasn't that some guy named Peter, some Irish fella, some English guy, eliminate fiat currency. Cool. Yeah. Radical ideas. So Henry David Thoreau, let me read this. I heartily accept the motto that government is best, which governs least. And I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly and systematically. So what does it mean to act up to something more rapidly and systematically? Carried out, it finally amounts to this, which also I believe that government is best, which governs not at all. And that when men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government which they will have. Cool. So very complex, right? So he's already talking about an idea, a process, and a physical system. This is actually what the essay is about. Henry David Thoreau. So you guys are all great readers. You guys know what Henry David Thoreau talks about. Cool. Read a paragraph of this. Tell me what it means. Write an essay. Write a comment based on one section of this, guys. So name me something that can be acted up to more rapidly and systematically, where that is meant, where that system is government, and it is said both that government which governs it governs best, which governs least, as well as the government which governs best then governs not at all. And that when humans in our psychologies, when political participants are prepared for it, that will lead to the kind of government which they will have. And so there is some political process which actually leads to a more utopian or more normative or more something sense of government. So this is a very hard essay. You guys might say it's very easy. Maybe it is easy for you, but go read it. Tell me what you guys think. Go read the essay. It's free online. It's about any and all governments. It's written, spoken English. So shout out to everybody. And this is American political thought. Patrick Henry during a speech on the second. Cool. Yeah, that guy certainly felt some way. I'm sure Patrick Henry was a great bedfellow, great drinking buddy, a great person to have representing your democracy, a founding father of the 1776 moment. So he was a guy who maybe believed in people, believed in compassion. He was maybe a guy who believed that liberty produces these things based on nature, not because it has to, but because it can. We need to eliminate the 40-hour. Do you guys want to? If anybody wants to, yeah, thank you, Larry. I appreciate you. Shout out to you guys. If anybody wants to send super chats, send some YouTube gifts, guys. I love that stuff. It takes a couple seconds to set up your card in Google Play. If you've never supported a streamer in your life, or if you'd like to support me, I try to have these conversations where I insult people and then ultimately spend more time like we did yesterday, guys. Yes, just yesterday alone, we had an audience of 40 plus for 3 hours, guys. So 2,000 views. The YouTube algorithm wasn't wastefully shuffling people in. That's why you can support DucksY. I prepare for streams. I'm knowledgeable. I leave open space for you guys and for myself to offer our opinions and things that are based in reality. So if you guys are curious to support me, gifting memberships is huge. Sending super chats is huge. Any of this stuff is really helpful, and it helps me return my focus, right? It's not like some psychological thing. Help me, help me. Yeah, but I am in the US. I have US bills. I don't really have a ton of options except doing this full time. I know what it's like to be on track to be a millionaire, in reality. And no, that is not what this is. So any super chats, any financial support deeply helps. The fuck? What do you mean? What do I mean, Christian Thompson? What kind of question is that? You're gonna ooh-woo your way through this. Keep ooh-wooing, buddy. Hey, no, not even buddy. I want to see Christian Thompson ooh-woo his way through this conversation like he just started off doing. Like he or she or they. What do I mean? Game theory is more important. I said God is worse than game theory. So I mean, game theory is normally applied on social and political contexts. Game theory is rarely applied in board games. So what do you think I mean? I mean that game theory is an effective tool set. God is a worthless ontology and a worthless what do you call it? It's a worthless religious worldview in society and politics. So ooh-woo your way. Tell me how God helps anything. We just spent the last 45 minutes. You want to ooh-woo your way into a conversation or recognition? Well, let me recognize an argument then. Let me recognize that tiny little, that little argument you want to drop in chat, Christian Thompson. Let me see what you mean, buddy. You're going to ooh-woo, I'll ooh-woo too. Hey guys, we have someone who wants to know what the F it means that God is worse than game theory, and they're going to answer in just a minute here, guys. In just a minute, they're going to answer. Is that right? We're all waiting. Hey, I don't need super chats now, right? I had a super chat. I had someone who said, the F do you mean? Abuser style behavior, abusive style behavior. That is abusive. Answer. What's up? What's up? Where you at? I didn't time him out. I didn't block him. Bro ran. He ooh-wooed his way into the conversation. He's on Google. He's on ChatGPT. He didn't want to be part of the conversation. Hey, there you go. You'll pray for me, dude. So when you say, so Christian, yeah, so this is done. So when you say, what the F does my question mean? And I explain it, what you say is you actually want to pray for me. Cool. You can get off the day. Come back for politics, philosophy, fitness. I'll give you 10 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes outside. And you can come back in if you want to. 10 minutes outside the front door. Nope, not even that. Not even that. You want to ooh-woo your way to chat, and then you want to ooh-woo your way to heaven. Tall you, little W, tall you, right? The man ooh-woo. I'm the man ooh-woo. What's up? You want to pray for what? I got 15 men that you need to pray for. I don't see one man praying for himself. That's selfish. Oh, right. Christian. Coming into ooh-woo, right? Yeah, it's abusive behavior. So if you can't be physically and mentally abusive, you run. That's hilarious. Hilarious. Get out of my chat room. Get out of my chat. Get out of my internet chat room, guys. This guy's a clown. This guy's an absolute joke. Get out of here, right? That's what I do. That's compassionate. No, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, buddy. Hey, what's up, Bakerman? Yeah, military guys, former military guys, military girls. You guys should send me money, right? You guys should send me super chats, former vets. If you guys got a small Uncle Sam pension, I do stolen valor stuff on my channel. I'm not a veteran myself. I feel that via being recruited by the CIA off Quora, off Reddit, I have served my country and have nothing to show for it. So I do feel I've done my civic duty, civil society, etc., and the whatnot, fake CIA, fake conspiracy theories, proving that, etc. But you guys can support the stream, super chats, gifts, memberships, gift memberships, all that stuff, right? So we have one person that donates, Hizzle. Hizzle is banned from donating for the day because he's already donated. What did he donate? $5. How much is $5? $5 is huge, guys. So Hizzle's banned from donating. You guys can donate. Stolen caller people. Yeah, caller number 6, caller number 7. Rage bait needs to go harder, ducks. Hey, I'm not trying to rage bait people. Why would I rage bait someone? Yeah, you say something sensible or unsensible, or it's just a practical action. I don't care. It's none of my business. It's not my business. Send me some money. All right, how about that for rage bait? Yeah, I'm supposed to be an academic caller. I'm supposed to build off the YouTube pot, the shared YouTube pot of just where it is today. I don't want to do that. I had a great stream yesterday, being myself. Yesterday, I was myself. And for 45 minutes, for about an hour, 40 people wanted to be here. They wanted to listen. They offered me 50 likes on the like button. For about an hour, 50 people listened to me ramble. They asked questions. We had conversations. I asked them questions back. I don't ask a ton of questions here, guys, but yeah, what do you think? Do you think it's better or worse if politicians can provide an economic justification for their decisions? It's economically justified that we reduce homelessness or reduce poverty this way. It's economically justified that fewer plants and animals will die or suffer because of our actions. It's economically justified that there's lower military geopolitical risks because of our actions. Do you guys believe game theory produces something practical? I think it does. Oh, banning me. No, that honestly wasn't the point, Hizzle. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. That is hugely helpful, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Hizzle. Thanks to Just Hizzle. Hizzle is a Randian hero. So if you ever want to know what Hizzle believes, thinks, and does and acts like, he believes that political stories come from, he believes that the best political philosophies and stories come from Russian refugees, females that end up doing interviews, right? This is where you produce ideas and beliefs. And so in terms of Hizzle supporting the channel, sending a huge $25 in today. Thank you so much. It means so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. The chargeback about it goes strong. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You guys can really torture me, right? You guys can really make it rough on me, send money and then do chargebacks. Yeah. Duck, do you work? And so what do you do? I worked in the tech industry for a long time. I worked in the tech industry for 10 years. And they went off the rails, right? Everybody adopted their own form of delusions and feeling ways about things and spend all day talking about it and then acting like that, right? You know, they have these little water cooler talks in the tech industry now about how it's not that. And then, but yeah, at the end of the day, everything is the same thing. So I'm not full of hatred. I'm full of recognizing what incompetence, ineptness, and inability to produce an outcome that is acceptable looks like, you know. And so the same things that makes people in tech successful, being smart, educated, and defining what an acceptable outcome would be, is the same thing that they're now hiding under because they have feelings about 56 increases in pay from AI tech jobs, feelings about, you know, you've got I don't know if you guys know the old movie Stand and Deliver, but it's about some white guy comes in and teaches black folks how to write and talk. So it's basically let's have a discussion about like neocolonialism. Let's let a white man tell the black man how to speak, talk, and be proud. Have some pride in the skills you carry with you. Have some pride in this, And so basically the tech industry has become this stand and deliver for things that just come out of Sam Altman's left nut. It's become this way that, we can teach and tell people what the world is like. And yeah, happy. I'd much rather, just like you, I would much rather have a different conversation. If there's any of my tech friends here, I'd much rather have a different conversation. And no, I don't consider myself royalty because of this, but you sure do, right? You sure have every right to your own LinkedIn account. You have every right to your own resume and what you're going to go produce with it, right? So there you go, kingship. You're underneath Sam Altman's left nut and you've been that way. They told you that was what it was going to be and you did nothing to respond to it. So you did not have athleticism. You did not have any of the virtues or values that create inclusivity. So yeah, the reality is you are still now in 2026, a white man teaching the black man how to talk, just like Stand and Deliver. So what change would you like to see in your country or state? What do you mean? That's like a very open-ended country and state. Like, so I would try to understand I'm in Arizona in the United States. I think Arizona would, obviously the thing that needs to happen at some point in time is recognition of resource constraints in the society. But then we also need to recognize why nationalism, like Trump's neoconservatism, does pose a risk to resource security. And it's also violent, right? It's also violent towards the ecology. So when you're talking about an actual political belief, I would say Arizona should have a goal of ambitiously supporting not just the United States, but more relevant aspects of the world while managing antiquated conservative tendencies in favor of new conservative tendencies. We should adopt I would ask that what change? So what I would actually work for if I was working towards Arizona, by the way, Steve, condescending fucking question. You can get off the fucking channel too. So you can come back in 24 hours. But yeah, so what change would I ask for in the United States or in Arizona? What I would actually work for is we recognize what it means to be a purple state in 2026. To me, that is a very thin layer of technological isms. It's a very thin layer of identity and this and the whatnot. And then it's a very robust layer of demonstrating and modeling what bipartisanship looks like, right? What it looks like. So bipartisanship is again adopting the correct or expedient forms of conservative values and progressive values, and there's not much more art to it than that. And yeah, the fact that Arizona claims to have no way, Katie Hobbs and many others claim to have no way to go out and find those suffering the most injustice in our state, whether that be by way of old criminal justice systems, homelessness in the summer, not recognizing the contributions that organizations like the Mormon Church make to just build heat shelters, right? These are not apologetic centers. These are heat shelters keeping people safe and alive. And so we're not leveraging the secular civil society to solve injustices. And then we claim that we have Deloitte now, right? We've got big tech companies out by Tempe Town Lake. We claim that, Tucson has some special version of the drug crisis and auditors. We claim all of these things. We claim Flagstaff is still this hippie town. Bullshit, right? Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has the internet. So it's a thin layer of technology. Ultimately, this results in partisanship. And ultimately, it's a thin layer of who you say you are versus what do you know? What can you actually go do? For whom? Why are you cursing, sir? You're homeless, go buy a house. Get the fuck off my channel. What? Get the fuck off my channel. Drinking water is better than drinking beer. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah. Hey, Arafat. Yeah, I love water. So good. Water's so good when you've earned a cup of water. Did your mom have any art or values? Yeah, my mom has a master's degree in theology. We were raised Catholic. And so, yeah, I don't need to introduce you to my mom, but she is a very smart lady. My mom could contend with you guys on the channel. On all of our worst days, when we're arguing, when we're having a good time, my mom could contend with you guys easily. Hey, Leo, what's up? What up, fish? Yeah, tell the money to fuck off. Tell the money to get the fuck out. Yeah, bitch. Jesus loves you, man. Stay blessed. Hey, I'm watching from Germany. Shout out Germany. You're not in tech, LOL. So what do you do? This is JD Talks. Get the fuck off my channel. Fucking asshole. No, fuck off. Did your mom have any children that lived? Channel 2. Yeah, welcome. If you guys like politics, philosophy, culture, society, if you guys want to offer feedback on the channel or something like that, feel free to offer feedback to me. New York in the house. Hey, Rep Mark Dorfman, shout out to you. Is that this is CPS? This is obviously nicotine. But yeah, shout out to you guys. No, I don't know what you would be talking about, and I don't know why you're trying to talk about whatever it is. Honestly, most of the time when people try to talk about things, there you go. See ya, buddy. When most of the people try to talk about things they're not able to actually talk about, it sounds like you're making stuff up, and then you make it make sense. What is make it make sense, guys? I don't know what make it make sense is like. And yeah. But yeah, New York City proper, I'd love to go sometime. I used to work for a company out of Buffalo, New York. I was very lucky. It was a very short time that I worked at that business, but yeah, New York, one of the most diverse cities in the United States. Not just 30% immigrants, but a rich history in not in like objective terms, but in analyzable terms. New York has a rich history of segregation, of art, of athletics, of business. Right. So all of the things that New York has been is what New York is today as well, especially New York City. You've got all 5 boroughs doing all 5 of the things that racists and rich people do. And as well as inclusive and tolerant poor people do. Right. And so, there's not one proper way to attribute a cause or anything like that. But just, yeah, I don't believe in having like deep pride in where you're from. But I do think someone should have pride if you understand where you're from. I've got my ASU shirt on. I'm not a huge place name kind of guy, but there we go. How do I do this? Whoops. I accidentally hid you. So I don't know how to unhide you. What did I say? I don't know how to unhide you, Christian. I'm going to give you 24 hours. We'll see you later, buddy. Like, who do you think you are talking like that? Like that Trump supporter. Yeah, Harun, I don't know what to tell you. Your message got blocked by YouTube. I would tell you that if you want to talk about politics, there is a pinned message up. There's at least one topic we can discuss. How about, hey, we can talk about something else. You guys want to talk about something else? Cool. I don't care. I don't care, right? What am I? I'm not freeing myself from the bondage of social media. I am just responding to what you guys are doing. But today it just happens to be 24-hour timeouts. Hey, I'm not hurting that bad for it. I'm not hurting that bad for it. And we'll do a stream tonight, guys, as well. Yeah, when I log off, I'm probably going to go work out, maybe make some food. And yeah, Kristi Noem starred in that movie Aquamaniac from Hollywood Studios, aka Television City, California. Yeah, I mean, Kristi Noem, I talked about her yesterday, Tony. My opinion is not that it's the opinion you need to adopt, but Kristi Noem probably had some attributes or skills that made her stand out to be successful in a very, like, one of the most prestigious roles that a person could have. I don't think we should be in awe of governors, right? If your gubernatorial seat is consequential, then it also means that people there's it's not that we have opinions, it's that there's a million questions. There's a million ways to ask questions. And Kristi Noem knew that she probably had to be responsible for some or most of them. And so I would think that Kristi Noem probably has some skills or something that sets her apart from other people. But then she also cuddled up with MAGA and Donald Trump, right? The fact that maybe she was a high performer, the fact that maybe she was civic minded, she had civic mindedness or had some knowledge or respect for civil society seemed to be dominated by the fact that she was willing to dehumanize people and break the law for Donald Trump. She was willing to celebrate the breaking of the law, breaking of the Constitution, and furthering exploitation, taking the most political, consequential decisions about energy, things that create actual work for the office of the presidency, and tuck them in a little box. What are we discussing? I just joined. Yeah, if you want to talk about God is worse than game theory, that's the topic of the stream. That's the title of the stream. Game theory is an economic way of understanding things. So instead of having an apple, right? You have an apple in your hand, you feel some way about it. Game theory is a way of saying, well, one, you have one apple, right? You do have an apple, right? So it's economic, meaning that you can just put all apple havers on a grid. You can ask about what apple havers do to have an apple in their hand, to have a teen stick. You know, you got your teen sticks, you got your freaking dino nuggies, you got, chicken Shinji Kixies and the whatnot. You got to get them chickens, boy, Gersten man farming up them chickens and pigs. Yeah, but you got all that stuff, but then you have actual economic thinking. So, and I'm saying that economic thinking is a more useful tool than talking about God and politics. It's just one argument a person could have. It's one way to learn about game theory, maybe. Just learn what that is actually like then too, right? You know, you've got 100 people. So versus having 100 people, you don't need to have 100 people. You could also have 100 people with Chevy pickup trucks, right? 100 people, 100 Chevy pickup trucks. These are both things that are not like, well, Protestant God gifted me a pickup truck. I don't know what that means. Protestant God gifted you a what? No, he didn't. No, he didn't, right? Protestant God put Ford Motor Co. right outside Detroit City, United States, right? That's not a social or political view, but someone could take an economic sort of analysis using game theory, talking about commons problems like the tragedy of the commons. We hear about this all the time. You hear tragedies, a tragedy, the commons problems. It comes up every few months. And so we look at something like pollution. No one person produces pollution, but yes, there is one person who just incidentally deeply suffers for it, often in places like be it Chad, Sudan, any place in the Sahel. These countries are most affected by climate change and emissions, right? And so the commons problems where nobody actually has incentive to stop producing or go take care and remediate problems. This is economic, right? There's no incentive. So you can talk about incentives, but the incentives is, again, not because of the person, it's because it's a consequence, right? You just have, this is the world you're walking into, this is the world you're talking about producing. And so it's a little bit of both, right? Game theory may in different ways be talking about how it produces a prediction of the future and where we are today. You're actually so weird, and I think you're, hey, see ya, Harun Khan. That's very incredibly rude to talk about mental illness on the internet, but shout out to you. It's good to see you. I hope all of you guys have a great day. Thank you. Thank you for the rudeness. If God created all things, then he created game theory. Cool. I don't know, again, where's the museum? So you just say create game theory. Game theory was actually invented, began being studied more in depth in the 1970s and 80s. John Rawls, very famous political theorist. And yeah, you guys maybe know John Nash. He talked about game theory when? Was it the 40s and 50s? And so John Nash, and then yeah, really rising to mainstream significance, I think expanding deeply in the 70s and 80s. And so game theory was not from God. God was not in the 1950s in any story that I'm aware of. And then also, you just want to talk about creating game theory. You don't want to talk about God. I have no idea what that means. What is an all things too, right? If you guys, I'm not trying to debate too heavy into this, but if God created all things, what is an all things? I've never seen an all things. I don't know how to measure an all things. I don't know what an all things is made of, and neither do you, right? So it's not something that can be evidenced. It's therefore also not a social or political belief. You can have an interesting conversation or debate or write an essay on all things and hope someone appreciates your creativity as well as your deductive, inferential, and abductive or explaining your qualitative sense or subjective sense of explaining what you mean by God created all things or all things. But you cannot actually infer or update a belief about all things. How would you update a belief about all things if you have no belief to update? If there's nothing there, then yeah, modern philosophy would say you're making things up, and we're on YouTube. And so, yeah, but yeah, game theory came from John Nash originally, I believe, and then game theory expanded deeply, into the future. Game theory is just a theory. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but yeah, the Christian way, yeah, shout out to you. Game theory is just a theory. I think you're undermining the significance of game theory. And it's not just that, but what is a theory in the first place? A theory is just one way to explain phenomenality. Usually it has these alluding tos of causal closure. A theory doesn't have to talk about cause at all. But yeah, we can use my subjective belief is about causation and causal closure. It's also about phenomenality. Phenomenality is when we see the world as some way, right? It's as some way, and there's qualitative and quantitative ways that the world is. That's what phenomenality is. So to say game theory is just a theory, I think you're actually saying, I don't know what those other words mean. I could be wrong, but Satan Church, man, set up in the 1960s. Cool. Yeah, I have no idea what that means either. It also sounds like something you just made up. And yeah, who knows? Maybe you are a brilliant scientist or someone way smarter than me. But once again, I think you are actually just making stuff up. And I think you don't know what qualitative or quantitative is. I don't think you know what phenomenality is. I don't think you can talk about phenomenality versus nature or noumena or reality, what it means to reify or instantiate, right? Whatever, my favorite words. I don't know what your favorite words for these types of things are, but I don't think you can actually talk about them. I think you're making stuff up, and thank you for contributing to the conversation. Yo, Duck, I know where you're at. I got my gun. Stay right there. Thanks, Young Bent. I'm going to go ahead and tune that out. This is, let's see. Cool. All right. Amazing. No, I'm talking about history. I don't think you are talking about history. How are you talking about history? If you say it's just a theory doesn't sound historical, right? So, yeah, when was the first theory of anything, right? When was the first theory of a something? Was it Isaac Newton? Was it before that? Is Spinoza theory? Was Spinoza theory? Does it have to be mathematical, or does it have to have that component to be a theory? Do you have to be a good theory to be a theory in the first place? If it's not good, is there a theory? What do you think about cults? Oh man, that's a crazy one. I have no opinion because I'm not a psychologist, but yeah, probably a little bit of both, right? Probably a little bit of both, where our neurons are unable to no longer, whatever the actual thing is, it looks like in like the old David Koresh. I don't know if you guys have seen David Koresh videos, but he was the guy from Waco, Texas. He was a cult leader. He was a big advocate of owning firearms. So he was a violent man. He was a violent man who believed himself to be like God. So he was a violent man who believed himself to be like God, and he kept many wives. So he was a philanderer. He was sexually promiscuous. So you could say he is a gun-owning slut, right? That would be an accurate statement about David Koresh. David Koresh was a gun-owning slut who also kept a stable of people in his cult. And yeah, if you've seen old David Koresh videos, he looks to be narrowing what people can. My interpretation is he narrows what people can talk about. And so one way that Andrew Bustamante or other former CIA agents on YouTube would talk about this, Andrew is someone who's deeply interested in psychology, but he says, you can look at, people that narrow your brain space don't say, look, stop talking about this, right? Stop thinking in this way. Stop talking about other versions of Christianity. Stop talking about other versions of God. It becomes very obvious if David Koresh wanted to brainwash you, he would say, stop. He would not say, stop doing these things, right? Obviously Andrew Bustamante is the best at explaining this stuff, but yeah, instead he would say, well, look, let's think about all versions of God. Let's think about what it means to be God-like. Let's maybe think about the verb form of God. How do you feel right now? Do you feel like God is in the room, right? Do you feel better or worse when I'm telling you what God is? And they would say, yeah, I do feel better because we're talking, right? There's pressure to say yes. There's pressure to avoid a violent or challenging response. There's also pressure to avoid upsetting or disappointing someone who's in a position of authority. So David Koresh brainwashed people and narrowed them in maybe a way that's like this or whatever the actual reality is. So he says, look, let's actually open the comments. Let's open our free thought. Let's open critical thought and think about what God is, right? And so he ends up taking conversations, conclusions, and basically makes it appear as if you're thinking rationally about stuff. And that's not the case, right? That's not the case. So Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. Hey, hello to you too. I would offer a different way to come up with to say hi to people. Wassalamu alaikum, right? How do I say that? Salam alaikum. So if you say Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins, I say your family drives pickup trucks and their greatest accomplishment has some X number of cylinders per their own interpretation. Wassalamu alaikum. Of course, God is great. Praise Henry Ford. But most of the people like David Koresh have good dressing skills and good manipulative skills. Yeah. I mean, people like David Koresh plant the seeds of understanding in people, and they're understandings which are not supported anywhere in reality, And so does David Koresh offer a form of nihilism to the world? Well, maybe he actually has meaning in his own life that he believed. He believed that what he was doing at Waco, Texas was not just good, but in no way was amoral or immoral. He maybe believed that it was good, and there weren't aspects of it which could be challenged in any sense. And so, yeah, who knows? Having a seed that develops quickly. The other thing David Koresh did, and so this is one of those when there's smoke, there's fire topics. People don't know this about David Koresh often. But yeah, he was not the first leader of this like Church of God or whatever he called it, right? Where he's God, he says, I'm going to be a gun-owning, God-loving, God-being slut and a manipulator. But he joined a previous church that had many cult-like tendencies and then slowly worked his way toward the top of the hierarchy. And he actually kicked out. He actually quite literally threw a woman out of a van. So David Koresh threw a woman out of a van. He and his followers at this point, who used to follow this woman, followed David Koresh, and yeah, he tossed her out of the van and said, "Look, don't come back to the cult compound. Don't come back home. You can't come home anymore." And so David Koresh was an abusive guy too. He was absolutely an abusive guy, a manipulator. Aren't you being classist? I don't know what that means. Towards white trash. I don't think I am. How did what I say? So if your worldview supports a sky daddy and your sky daddy is actually about supporting the material version of reality, so your praxis is actually someone else's praxis and it's just what you want to feel or think or see, cool. I won't talk about that. I'm not interested in that anyways. So cool. What is your opinion of Saddam Hussein? Was he a hero or a criminal? He was neither. He was a person who was a head of state. So him and his brother Uday, this is one of the problems with Baathism, or it's a problem with how Baathism, who knows? It's a problem with how it could be either. It's a problem with how Baathism was actually successful or unsuccessful. Is if you go back and look at all of the heads of state from Baathism, the majority of them are former military leaders. Yeah, so was Saddam Hussein a statesman? He probably had skills and perspectives that were regarding statecraft, were regarding nation building, were regarding what a statesman would do. But Saddam Hussein also had many beliefs and ideas that were about militaries, were about security, you know? And so when you have a bias or a preference as an individual leading, whether you want to call it, probably not an organization, but leading a government, you know, it sounds odd to say that could be either a hero or a criminal. And yeah. Do you think that brainwashing can be prevented, like preventing people from blindly following things like this? I have no idea what you're talking about. If I said something that I'm brainwashing you on, I apologize. I'll just go ahead and shut the stream down, guys. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back tonight. Thanks again to Hizzle for moderating, supporting the stream too. Yeah, guys, if you guys want to, feel free to share content to people or Discords that like politics, like philosophy, like political science, like discussions. If you guys like that, I support it too. Thank you. Also, like button is free. Subscribing is free. And if you guys have a couple extra bucks and you guys want to support the stream and donate later on, please do so. And I will talk to you guys all later.